Spoken Labour. I haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed of that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I haven't dreamed of waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Kent Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy N's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spoken Label. Hi, it's Andy N from Spoken Label. Thank you today for streaming or downloading another episode of Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up on beginning of 2016 and as of speaking has currently nearly 300 sessions. The full archive is available on Spoken Label bandcamp.com. Although it is available for free for stream and download if you wish, I am always grateful for any sort of kind of donation to enable me to keep the running costs of this podcast going. And enjoy. Take care. Bye bye. Spoken Label.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house. We're on Zoom again today. Over to, I think it's Leeds today, actually. Hey, I'm sure it's this gentleman's from Leeds. He'll tell me otherwise in a minute. But spoke to Joe Williams is with us today. Just told me originally in September 2019. It's a great bloke. And it's a pleasure to have Joe on today again. So, Joe, first of all, obviously, mate, people that don't know you, and if they don't know you, I don't know why. So obviously, tell them a little bit about yourself, mate. Obviously, where all your creativity came from and your previous books, and we'll take it from there, mate.
Okay, hi Andy, thanks for having me back again. Yes, I am in Leeds. You're right about that. I'm a writer of not just poetry, also short fiction as well. Been at it for, I guess 6 years or so now, since I've been kind of writing seriously. I've got 4 books published now, all quite different from one another. And I'm a host of events, an editor of things, of all kinds of things that I get up to.
Yeah, but that's what I liked about you last time, Joe, we met just under 2 years ago. Because I found myself thinking, yeah, Joe's like me, when the fact was, we couldn't be here, we've got our police cars us in the background. They're coming to arrest me, mate. So, yeah. Always had that before now. I've had it before, mate, and I'll quickly come into the second, where I did a hot summer podcast some years ago when the police actually had the window open in the room I'm in, and the police stuck their head through the window actually asking for somebody after we were recording a podcast. They're after one of the neighbours and the runners. But anyway, listen, what I say was, first time I chatted to you, Joe, a couple of years ago, and I enjoyed chatting to you because, I thought the pair of us are similar to that. We both we do other bits and pieces in the creativity field, don't we, really? So it's like I write a couple books, do editing, I know you do, and you're also running your own night again, aren't you? So but we'll come on to that in a bit. Now, obviously today we're here to talk about Joe's new book, because he's got a brand new book out, haven't you, Joe? When did the book come out?
Officially, in 2 days' time, 3 days' time.
Right, we'd have been out for about a month and a half by the time people hear this. So.
Yeah, but when you get this on, in May, I just got the first copies of my own just a few days ago, so it was really nice to have them in my hand. It's always a good, exciting moment when your new book arrives and the thing that you've been working on for however long is suddenly a physical object that's in your hands.
Yeah. Now, you surprised me when we talk about it's pre-recording as well. Like, you've been on this book for a while, haven't you? So it's been like a passion project, I'm guessing, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of been on the go, mainly in the background for a while. I think I first had the idea for it really 2016, something like that. And occasionally I'd write a poem that I thought would fit in. So it kind of came together bit by bit. And then it was really back end of 2019 that I started really focusing on getting it all properly together and finishing the writing of it. So probably about half the book was written since then, and half older stuff.
Yeah, no, as you said before, obviously, I know you've done several books before this, and I've got at least 2 of them, I think, actually knocking around somewhere. So tell us about the actual where the inspiration for this book came from then?
Well, the idea of it's called The Taking Part, and the idea of it was to do a short collection of poems that are on the theme of sports and games. So it's there's quite a wide variety in there. So there's some like obvious sports like football and cricket and so on, but there's some other things kind of within the sport and games umbrella, like quiz programs and board games and things like that. And as poems tend to do, they're not, for the most part, they're not really about those subjects at all. That's kind of a framework for them. It's just an excuse really for the poems to do whatever the hell they want. So like a lot of poems, they're kind of really poems about people, I think, for the most part, about kind of human stories and human relationships, things like that.
Yeah, your last book, I remember being very like that. I was more like that. They talked about pub stories more, that one did, if my memory is correct. And this is obviously like you're looking at the human cost to it, just in the more sports-like feeling, really, aren't you? So
yeah, that's right. The reason I was really interested in doing something like this is because I think sport and games just have this massive cultural impact on all of society, whether you're interested in them personally or not. They're always there around you. You think of some of the kind of big moments that have become like cultural milestones, like the 1966 World Cup final, for example, is a very obvious one, which it doesn't matter if you're into football or not. Everyone knows about the 1966 World Cup final, don't they? Because it's such a cultural, has such cultural importance in England at least.
Yeah. No, completely agree with that. So it's like, did you find you had to do much research on this book to get the stories across you wanted?
There was a little bit of research involved. It kind of evolved as I was working on it, really. Initially, I thought maybe there would be quite a few poems about individual people, like sports people, which I might have to research. But actually, the way it went, I didn't really have very much of that sort of stuff in the end. So a lot of it is really kind of sort of pieces of fiction and storytelling, which, people who know my previous work will know that I do a lot of that sort of thing anyway. So the kind of, a lot of it's sort of silly tales or things kind of within the framework of sport and games. So that's a long way of saying not really, I think. That's the answer to your question.
Oh, I'm used to you saying that right now. It's like you're very, very good at completely avoiding the topic, and that's poets for you completely anyway, straight away with that. So, no, excellent. Now, obviously, I can't even ask you really. Have you tried out many of these pieces on pieces at nights and stuff? Because we've been in lockdown, really, haven't we? So, but like I said, but had you obviously you said before, was the book always been? Had you been testing out much before you actually got to sit down and put it together then, or?
Well, I was trying out quite a lot of stuff sort of before lockdown when we did have live events, and then it was, I guess, sort of during the first sort of 6 months or so of the pandemic, I was kind of finalizing things. So I was trying a lot of stuff out there at Zoom open mics and the like. So yeah, it's had most of the material in it's had kind of quite a lot of test outing, and particularly with the older poems, a lot of them have changed quite a bit along the way. The editing process kind of has been ongoing for quite some time, getting these things into shape, which hopefully they are now. At least my editor thought so. So
yeah, I think I'm believing that when you're doing a book as long spin what you've done. I know my second book went on for 5 years. Took me that long to write it. This is like you could argue it's been since probably you first started writing poetry, really, hasn't it? Past 7 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think the oldest poem in the book, which is called Jackpot, was written in early 2016, which was very early days for me, really, because I think I might have mentioned on the previous program that we did that I started out writing exclusively like 575 haikus.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what brought me
to
poetry. And it was really only around I guess sort of towards the end of 2015 that I started writing sort of more kind of standard free verse, which is primarily what I write now. So yeah, very, very early days really for a couple of the poems that are in this book.
Did you did you find over time then this book was so drawn out? I know my second book was like this. By the time I started it, it was a completely different book to when I finished it. Did you find them when you first started getting these pieces together? Did your plans actually change in the book?
I mean, I didn't have that much of a plan to begin with. Really, it was more like I had a couple of poems that were kind of on the theme, and I thought maybe there's some mileage in putting together a pamphlet or a collection using this theme. And just as I went along, kind of things cropped up, and I thought, well, that's an idea that I'll have, and I'll reserve this poem for what will eventually become this book. But then it was only really in sort of the second half of the writing process when I started really focusing on it that the actual feel of the book came together. And there were a couple of things that I didn't include, some of the older ones, because I didn't think they fitted with what the whole had become, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, of course. You tell me off mic before, a good chunk of the book was done before lockdown, really, wasn't it? So
yeah, most of it. I mean, it was the finishing sort of touches, really. I probably wrote the last 3 or 4 poems, I guess, post lockdown. When we were allowed back in the pub, because I like to write in the pub. So
yeah, I know. I've seen a few pictures of you recently with pen and paper back in the pub again, mate. That's good stuff, man.
It always helps me because it's that's an important part of my routine. So when I wasn't allowed to go to the pub anymore, I was lost. I couldn't write.
Oh god! And everyone's running to like Joe's got a pint of beer next to him as well, Joe. I know you have, haven't you? So oh, good man.
Probably the case.
Good man. I'll have a whiskey later after this because I don't like drinking when I'm recording because I end up doing something I shouldn't do. That either turning the record button off when I shouldn't be and stuff like that. So
you don't want to be making mistakes like that. That wouldn't help.
No, definitely I don't do it. So no, brilliant, mate. No, I can't blame you. So how have you found it going back into the pubs now? Then have you managed to get back to your writing a bit more?
Yeah, it definitely does really help me. It's not like I haven't written anything at all when we've not been there, but my normal routine is I have things kind of swimming around my head, and I have a sort of weekly session when I put things down on paper while I'm in the pub, and that's it's not like it's the only time I write, but it's kind of the central part of my writing routine, if you like. I'm not very good at routine. I'm quite ad hoc for the most part. So having that kind of set time when I know that that's what I'm going to do, I find it's really helpful.
Yeah, I think lockdown's effect made us change a lot of my writing patterns, really, because I used to do a lot of mine in the day job I've got, which obviously to travel the office and back every day in the bus. I used to do all my writing on the bus. When you're stuck behind inside a lot more, it's harder, really, I suppose, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I find it very difficult at the beginning there. I did a self-published little pamphlet about this time last year, which kind of came out because of lockdown, and I tried to do something a bit more experimental just to get myself going again. Really, I think it's trying experimental stuff is a good way to get yourself out of a rut, or if you don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I did that. I did a book of haikus earlier on this year, which took about 6 months to write, and I've got a second book nearly ready as well. Just little books that I self-published, so I was trying and get your brain operating different ways, don't you? So
yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. And then because that book it's a sequence of erasure poems which were made out of Boris Johnson's letter to the UK, which I'm sure.
Oh, I heard some of them. Yeah, I've seen you read them out twice and now somewhere, and you cracked Amanda up both times on me. Did, and made me laugh as well.
I did that, and it was kind of a throwaway thing, really, or I thought it was. It was something to amuse myself more than anything else. I didn't really intend to do a book, and then when I did do the book, I didn't think anyone would buy it. But it's only a little strange thing, but it went quite well.
I think sometimes it could be doing look at things like that because and I also find as well, and you'll probably agree with this, like you didn't plan, it just happened naturally, didn't it? So
yeah, and very quickly, and because it was so topical, it kind of had to happen quickly. Really,
no, best way. I agree with you completely. Now, obviously, we're here to talk about your new book, really. Obviously, now I know you've gone. Unfortunately, by the time this podcast goes out, I know you are doing an online launch, aren't you, on Saturday the 29th of May?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Do you have much plans beyond that then, with doing readings and stuff from this?
Well, it's difficult at the moment, isn't it? Because no
Yeah.
one knows what's going to happen. There's
Yeah.
so many people just waiting to see before the book real live events. But yeah, I've got a few things lined up. I think I've got 3 proper live bookings of my own for later in this year, and then I've got my own event that I'm running, which is booked for June. So hopefully there should be some of these things happening, and there's always there's some Zoom ones as well. So we've always got that to fall back on, no matter what.
Yeah.
Happens.
How have you found the Zoom events over the past year or so? It's been a very different experience, really, hasn't it?
It has, and I think, I find it very kind of wearing. Really, they can be quite tiring. But I mean, they've also been essential because, you know, if we had nothing, which is really the alternative, then I don't know what I would have done. Really, it's the early days of lockdown. It's what kept me sane. I think really being able to hang out with my poetry friends on screen.
Yeah, same for me as well, really, because like when we started doing it ourselves, like Amanda had just moved in with me at that point. She had literally about a month or 2 months before by chance, and like it was chaos for us because a couple months before my dad got took in hospital. Then mum then got took in hospital. My brother-in-law went in hospital all in about 3 months for various operations and things. We got them all out. Then everyone went into lockdown. Then so it was an absolute bedlam. It was. Amanda had just moved in with me, so, so it's like I think you do, don't you? I think it's like you're just trying to keep going in that situation like that, and that's what happened to us all. So
yeah, exactly. It's all we could do, I think, really, isn't it, at that stage? Yeah.
Now, obviously, when you tell us a bit more about this night of yours, and obviously you told me a little bit before, which ironically started originally, didn't it, on February 2020, just before everything went mental.
Yes, I started an event at the worst possible time in history, basically. I've been wanting to or thinking about starting my own event for a while, but I didn't really want to do one in Leeds because there's already loads going on in Leeds already. So I decided I would try doing one in Hexham in Northumberland, which is where I grew up, where my family still live. So I did that. It's called Words on the Wall, and I'd done a couple of one-off events at the County Hotel in Hexham as what I called northeastern launches of my own books, and it's a good venue. So I thought, well, maybe we'll try and get something regular going here. So the idea was just to do 3 a year, so kind of quite spread out, so that I wasn't under too much pressure to do it all the time. But hopefully that would mean that it gives me the opportunity to get some really high quality guests on. Yeah. The idea being that I'd bring up some of the writers that I know and admire from Yorkshire or around other parts of the north who might not necessarily have had opportunities to read in the northeast before. So kind of try and bring them to a new audience and introduce some of my favourite writers to the people in the northeast who might not have heard them.
Yeah. So did you do this over Zoom, did you, or as well during lockdown, or you avoided it?
I did one online one in last June, which should have been really the second live event, because the idea was to do them in February, June and October. And it was quite fun, but because we haven't had the time to be established yet, we don't have our own sort of regular crowd, you know, so it felt a bit kind of generic in terms of the people who were there. Do you see what I mean? It didn't feel like I was establishing kind of the Words on the Wall identity, which hopefully I will be able to do when we can get back to doing live things again.
Yeah, of course.
It will be happening in a few weeks for us because I'm booked in for 26th of June. So
yeah, now the podcast will be out probably just after that, I reckon, truth be told you. But hopefully, we can tell people it was a success with them over to it and say, for your October one, and definitely so. Well, fingers crossed, because I don't want to ask you about bookings and stuff like that yet, because you don't want to say too much in case things get changed, don't you, at the moment? So.
Well, yes, I've got my guests booked for that and have done for months, and on the understanding that we have absolutely no idea whether it's going to be able to happen or not. But,
now, as you see it goes, I know we've got our first, me and Amanda have got our first live reading coming up on Sunday, actually, at the end of this week. So, yeah, in a park, big park near us, and that's going to be terrifying this Sunday, doing it in front of people.
Yeah, it'll be quite weird. We did an open mic here in Leeds at a Word Club at the Chemic, which is normally the one that I go to regularly. We did one in the pub car park in August, I think it was. That was the only one we managed to do in the summer.
Oh, doing the car park. Oh, that's brilliant. Absolutely superb, mate. Only you could do that one, mate. Brilliant, mate. Okay, what we'll do, we'll wrap up this bit, Joe, anyway, because we're going to end up just talking, pardon me, talking rubbish otherwise. We carry on much more, mate. So, so we'll let you do the hard sell now, mate. Obviously, first of all, where can people get the book?
Well, it's published by Maytree Press, so you can either get it from Maytree Press or you can get it direct from me. If you look at my website, joewilliams.co.uk, and if you get it from me, you'll be able to get a signed one if you want one as well. And they're £7 plus postage, which I think is going to work out at £8 for the UK at least. So yeah, check that out, and you can get my other books there as well. And if you have a look at the gigs page, you'll be able to see any live or Zoom or whatever it is gigs that I've got coming up.
Hopefully, by the time this goes live, definitely people get a chance to see or Joe's gig diary to go berserk thing here in person. So let's keep our fingers crossed, definitely on that one, mate. Now, obviously, with your night, then obviously, if people want to say, for example, go to the October one, how is this mentioned on your website as well? Is it?
It's yes, the date is on there. It's from the top of my head, I think it's the 17th of October that we're booked in. So yeah, if anyone around the Northeast who'd like to come to that, would be great if we'd see you there. Hopefully by October we won't have to worry about any restrictions or anything at all.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I've got no idea who my guests will be. If the June one doesn't happen, then maybe it'll be the same people that I should have had in June. But we'll work things out as we go along.
That's the best way, mate. So, right, well, we're up here, Joe, and we'll let you get composed and get rid of a few poems for us, mate. So, always a pleasure having you on there, mate. So, hang around, everybody. Joe's fantastic. He's always entertaining. So, we'll see you in a minute.
Spoken, mate.
Hi, guys. Still here with Joe. I'm going to pass the invisible mic over to Joe now. And he's got 4 pieces, I presume, all for the new collection. Go for it,
Thanks,
mate.
Andy. Yes, yeah, they are all going to be from the taking part. People who know my work will know that nearly all of it is a true story, 100% truth. So I thought I would begin with a reliable history of the marathon. Philippides invented it in 490 BC. Was so excited by his own idea, he immediately dropped down dead. Never even filed a patent. He could have made a fortune in royalties. The earliest surviving account is by Plutarch 600 years later. By then, everyone was doing it for charity, dressed as rhinos or tins of beans, recording it all on Strava. It wasn't until the 1896 Olympics that people started taking it seriously. The BBC weren't interested, thought 3 hours was much too long. There was only one channel then, and no red button. They showed beach volleyball instead. Later, they added wheelchairs and eventually even women, but the biggest change was in 1990, when the marathon was renamed the Snickers. A lot of people are still quite upset about that. 52% of them voted to leave the IOC. The official length of the Snickers is 26 miles and 385 yards. They say it was Edward VII who added the extra yards to get a better view of the finish line, but that isn't true. You shouldn't believe everything you're told. You might have got a little bit of motorbike noise towards the end of there as well. I don't know if you could hear that. Zooming, some takeaway driver zooming past my window.
Well, you wouldn't know, Joe. I had you mute. We had an ambulance go past us at the back then as well. So it's difficult. I mean, that was great, mate. I really enjoyed that. That was really quite a really informative piece, that one. So definitely that. So was that one did you have to research that one a lot? Did you know that piece?
All of those facts, yes, were heavily researched. So it's important to get these things right, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I agree straight away. That was fun. Fantastic, mate.
Yeah. Most people won't know that the BBC had the beach volleyball in 1896, but it's all true. I'm going to do a poem now that's it's kind of about stadiums. I really like sports stadiums. I find that there's just a kind of really sort of unique feel about them if you're in one or even outside of one, whether they're full of people or empty as they mostly are at the moment. So I wanted to write a poem about that. So this is called Cathedrals. There's something in the angles, those webs of knitted steel. How many million voices have been captured in that silk? How many cries of victory, frustration, and despair have risen from these terraces, the edges of these flip-down seats, to echo in the rafters long after we are dead? Have you ever been alone in a cathedral? Just you and all history's ghosts.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's nice poetry. Ooh, it's always nice when you get an ooh after a
Yeah,
poem.
that was really haunting, that one, mate. So excellent.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked that. I was gonna stick with the theme of stadiums for the next one. I live in Headingley in Leeds, and people might know Headingley because of the stadium, Headingley Stadium, where Yorkshire County Cricket Club play, and the Leeds Rhinos as well. And I used to work in an office at Headingley Stadium a few years ago, and there was one day Prince Harry came to visit. Not me, he wasn't coming to visit me, but he came to the stadium. And I didn't know what he was doing there. So being a poet, I just made something up and put it in a poem, which is called Royal Visit to Headingley Stadium. "What do you do?" said the prince to the groundsman, who thought, what a bloody stupid question, given I'm sat on a lawnmower which you've just watched me drive from one side of the field to the other, but said, "I'm the resident artist here, and I'm making a picture there on the grass that might not seem like anything much, but when it's done, it should look grand, though not from here. You see, it's made in a way that means it can only be seen from space." And the prince said, "It's great to have art in sport. How very nice to meet you, but thought, what a waste of time and money." And the groundsman thought the same. Thank you.
Oh, brilliant, mate, brilliant. Okay, mate, right, we're on to, now I've had a trumpet now, Joe, we're playing the trumpet now for the big finale, right?
The big finale, okay. Well, the big finale is, it's kind of a 3-in-1, really. I'm going to give you the longest poem in the book, which is really 3 shorter poems, because it's a trilogy. It's called the Ten Pin Trilogy. 1. Input. I was always Malcolm, so when I scored a strike, the video screen would flash Malcolm X. With my skills, more often it was Malcolm 8 or Malcolm 3, more medieval Scottish king than Black Power icon. At 17, 18 in 1992, we hadn't ever heard of cultural appropriation, but we remembered what we'd been told, that the holes in the average bowling ball housed 2,000 types of bacteria, so when we were done, we'd scrub our hands until the skin was raw. 2. University of Leeds Bowling Society. All skill levels welcome, they said, then paired me with Alwyn, who would reliably score 250, furious at every unclosed frame. Waiting for my turn, I'd run my gaze across the lanes, searching for a soulmate, struggling to reach 3 figures. I never found my equal, dropped out at week 5, left Alwyn with his own lane, curling banana balls into the front pin. 3. Swing, bend, release. There were times when I would do this more than once in 3 years, and even without the moral support a pitcher of Heineken brings. And never before have I found next day I could barely get out of bed, the pain in my thighs making every move a struggle. As sports injuries go, there are more impressive than being hobbled for 3 days by 20 frames of swing, bend, release. But I won that first game, I remind myself, as I limp down the stairs, wincing with every step, inching closer to the ground. There we are.
Fantastic, mate. Brilliant, that one. Yeah, it's like I can see why that's the longest piece in it. That seemed to have a bit really quite powerful piece. I mean, you needed the length of it to carry your story forward. No, brilliant, mate. Fantastic. Been a really good session. Always a pleasure having you on, Joe. Definitely. So,
it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hang on around, mate. Need to quit the off mic, but thank you again, mate. Come back again when the next book's out, mate. Always welcome to have you on, mate, again.
Will do. Cheers.
Right. Take care, guys and girls. As Don Collis says, stay safe and stay up.
Spoken, mate.